I think we're live. One, two, 1, 2. Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Awesome. Welcome everybody, wherever you are. We will be beginning in a minute. We're live in the garden today. Because why not? Because in Manchester, we make the most of this good weather. Totally appreciate it. But if you are making this live today, maybe you're out in the garden as well. I totally get it if you are in the garden and not on the technology. I was like, how do I be in the garden and be on technology? Okay. So we'll end that there. After last week's new technology, I'm outside now with even like less and totally new technology. So we will see how this goes. But welcome everybody to Wednesday. We're in about what, the middle of May? Middle of May already, and we're starting to get beautiful weather now in the UK. So I don't know wherever you are, please do let us know. I am in beautiful Manchester today, and it has cloudless in the sky, which is lovely to see. So before we begin, always going to start with a couple of breaths. Give me a moment to set this up properly. There we go. Just checking for the person that's in the back with me there. Dom, what's the sound like on that? Okay. Just give us a thumbs up. Yeah. Trying to work with these right sound levels and everything now. So everybody, wherever you are, find yourself somewhere nice and comfortable. Settle that posterior into your cushion. Take your gaze inwards for a second. Because the first thing you did when you entered this earth was take a breath. And we're going to take 4 or 5 of those now. So just take a couple of normal breaths. Breathing in and just rolling the shoulders. Breathing out. And one more normal breath in and out. And on this out breath, just empty your lungs completely. And then breathe in. Hold at the top and just roll the shoulders. And then let it out with a sigh. Do that one more time. Breathing in. Pause at the top. Lift the shoulders up. Roll them back. And as you lower the shoulders, let it out with a sigh. And once more, breathing in a bit slower. Lifting the shoulders as you breathe in. Pausing at the top, rolling the shoulders back. And this time when you let it out, you want to shake your arms as well. And then just return to some normal breaths. There you go. Literally takes a couple of minutes to calm the central nervous system down to stop the blood from being in the body in fight or flight or freeze, where we sit in so often during the day. And instead, we rebalance a little bit more. We let some blood recirculate back into the brain so we can think a little bit more clearly. Because I think right now, during these times, we could all do with a bit more clear thought. So, welcome. My name is Daniel. Welcome to the Conscious Catch-Up Show. I started these off for one purpose and one purpose only, and that was to find a way to merge two worlds together. How do we take all of this beautiful support, healing, spiritual work that's been done over this side of the world and just start to bring that into the business space and into the leadership space? I've seen over the last 5 years a huge transformation in the words that we're allowed to say, the words that we say regularly, and where they come up in conversation, whether it's meditation or mindfulness or energy or any of these energy healing modalities. And so I designed to do that. I designed a really simple system that was to start to pull all of this together. And this is the system that I designed right here. Um, there's links in the description above so you can get access to it. It has stuff on that's on every single day. It's not my system necessarily. I'm just like a caretaker for it, let's say. And the reason is because we spend so much time working, guys. We really do. And there's one thing this whole situation has um, helped a lot of people, because I know some people are working even harder. It's really just bringing a bit of a different perspective. It's ironic for what we'll be talking about in a few minutes. So this system, this database literally has every single day. It's got stuff on there from mindfulness to meditation to yoga to dance to Pilates to fitness. There's all sorts of things on every single day. And there's links for every single day as well. And you can sort them by however you want to sort them. So I'm not going to go through this every single week, but I am going to remind people of the fact that it's here. And I'm going to pull out one or two as they pop out to me. And I really want to bring a big shout out to the Cosmic Granny, who I know who's everyone's grandmother. She's called Deborah Dowglin. And at 1:11 every single day, she does an absolutely beautiful meditation. So if you have been working your ass off, if you're not giving any time for yourself or anything like that, then just look, and you don't know where to go, pop into this database any single point, pick your day, pick your time, see what's on. I mean, there's stuff on from 7 a.m. right through till 7 p.m. today. Actually, that shouldn't be there. Stuff on till 10 o'clock. I don't quite know how that's made it to the bottom when it's sorted by time. Such is technology sometimes. So you've got access to that whenever you want to have access to it, and really just starting to find different ways that you can support your energy system. Now, what we what I'm going to cover every single week is the aspects of Human 5.0. And I was thinking about this. I always wanted to just make sure I shared something on these lives. And when me and Christina designed and kind of pulled together and curated these 9 aspects, we were really looking at, what does it take for humanity and for the human beings and the leaders that are in this space as we're in right now. What does it take for us to start to leapfrog and quantum leap jump like electrons would do inside an atom, and literally show up and exist as this stronger human being, more capable to weather these storms of these environments that we're in, whether in the changes in the economy, the changes in leadership, the changes in the business, all of these things that are constantly moving. Because last week we covered non-attachment. We live in a world of impermanence. So if everything's changing all the time, then we have to start to find a way to become good with that. And so this week, what I really wanted to talk about was perspective agility. It's got attachments to non-attachment, because perspective agility is that ableness to not sit in my own viewpoint. It's that ability to start to detach myself from what I might think and stand in someone else's shoes for a period of time. Where it starts to change is that it's this ability to take a helicopter view and really start to take in everyone's perspectives. It doesn't mean you have to believe them, you don't even have to agree with them, but the human being who can understand the most perspectives in any given situation will have the greatest ability to not only to remain calm, which is a self-energy trait, not only to sit there and understand where other people might be coming from, but more so to be able to make the best decision that they can for themselves and for the greater good. And it's this perspective ability that is something that is learnable. It is a skill. It's teachable. It is it's a muscle that we can use, and it begins with us being aware of the fact that, am I always coming from my perspective only? How easily do I take myself out of my own perspective and put my perspective in Laura's shoes, Simon's shoes, whoever's shoes you want to be in, like to be able to see how they're seeing the world. Because I have seen, especially on Facebook recently, like so much polarization of society. It's like all of a sudden we're warring with each other and fighting and arguing with each other when that's the last thing that we should be doing now. And I think I invite everyone to just take a moment and just remove themselves from themselves for a minute and just ask themselves a question. What perspective do I sit in all the time? Am I even willing to embrace someone else's perspective? Recently, we've been learning about something called the Blue Church, which is a term used in the IDW, the intellectual dark web, and they're referring to this idea that that there are, like we have the internet of information and we have the internet of value that's coming through. We have this thing that someone termed the internet of beef, where these groups and factions who are almost um, religiously idealistic about their world, whether it is about, you know, the new telecoms that are coming through that are going to replace the current way we communicate. I'm going to try not to say it. And whether it is about the coronavirus situation that we're in now, whether it's about governments, and people get so wrapped up in these worlds that if someone comes along to even ask them questions of it, it's deemed an attack, and it's met with a real fervent response. And that does not lead to conducive conversation. It doesn't allow us to literally be able to explore and understand and see where other people might be coming from. Because when we take two opposing views and we come together and we create synergy, the ability for them to work together harmoniously, and we start with polarized views, the emergent property from that is tenfold what it would be as if we take compared to when we take two like people. If two people come together and they generally have the same views and they're working synergistically, what comes out from that might be, I don't know, so much different and so much good. But when we take two people that think completely different and have completely different views and we can get them to work synergistically, the emergent property of that relationship is tenfold what it would be over here. But that is never going to happen until we begin to have perspective agility, till we begin to start to be able to move around the circle, taking everyone's view all at the same time. And then at that point, we're able to go, okay, I see, and take something in. So that's what I really wanted to just cover today. I wanted little sound bites, little snippets, and we really felt that for this next wave of humanity that's going to come through, that is coming through, this human 5.0, it begins with having this comfortability to meander through all these different perspectives. I hope that is useful for some people. Now, we had last week, Dominic asked a really good question at the end. And so I wanted to ask him if he would join us on our live today, because I love the way that Dominic thinks. He's always an inquisitive little chappy as well. So we have him in the back room also. I'm going to see if I can bring Dominic in. Hey, Dom, can you hear me?
Hey, yes, of course. How are you doing, man?
Oh, yeah, super. I've got a slight delay on you, just so you know. But I can definitely hear you, which is better than not hearing you. Can you hear yourself doubled up like last week, or is it okay?
No, no, it's crystal clear.
Super duper. Okay, sir. So, perspective agility. I don't know if you've come across that before, but I'm keen to get your take on it and if there's any expansion you want to have on it.
Definitely. That's a very, very interesting topic. And stepping out of my own personal point of view, more and more recently, I have found myself with struggling with this sometimes because I do feel sometimes I'm absorbed in my own world, in my own beliefs. And sometimes when people challenge that, it's really hard for me to accept their views. And one, I actually wrote a few questions. Maybe we can just do one or two. But this is, for me, this is a question that I wanted to ask for
Yeah,
myself,
sure.
really. And that is, um, do you think it's worth investing your energy into a debate if someone does not agree with your point of view? Or how would you, if you maybe wanted to educate someone on how you believe and they're trying to educate you on their beliefs without getting into a debate or an argument, what's the best way to maneuver around that situation?
Okay, cool. Really, really good question. Thank you for that. And definitely something, well, I think everyone faces that at some point. In fact, I don't think you face it if you're really attached to what it is you're doing, because you're just probably a person that's going around not necessarily understanding that there's a different perspective. So the fact that you can even ask that question shows a level of thinking to be able to go, right, how do I best go about doing this? But there's a couple of key differentials to understand. I am going to bring in the old adage that never argue with an idiot. And that is not to say that the people that you're speaking to are idiots, but I'm going to extrapolate it a bit more to mean like you're if you're speaking to someone who's never going to take any time to remove themselves from where they're sat, to listen to what you're saying, to actually have a conversation. If you can already have the foresight to see that, then I would have caution whilst entering into a conversation, because it it takes two people to argue. It takes two to tango, and it takes two to have an argument. If one person's shouting, you can have the self energy to not react, not respond. But then you could argue, you could say, what was the point in even getting involved? So it's having that awareness beforehand of, okay, this is the level at which I would like to have a conversation. Is that person going to meet me? Now, if they're not and they're here, and I have no idea what these are, I'm just using just general gauge points, then you can either meet them where they're at, but then you have to understand that if where they're at is incredibly attached to where they're coming from and very angry, then if you meet them at where they're at, that's again might not lead to a conducive conversation. So it's I suppose it's I don't even want to say battles, but it's picking your conversations. Because one of the things that you mentioned there was if you want to educate them, and that's the point, you've got to pause.
Yeah.
I can't coach anybody. They have to choose that they want to improve and to work, and then all
Yep.
as any sort of coach or trainer's perspective, all they're doing is helping them see blind sides. That's it.
Yep.
It's just kind of going, what's that? And allowing them to expand and unpack that. So if you know that there are people that traditionally you'd be like, oh, I really want to educate them in how I think, yeah. If they don't want educating, if you haven't
Of
asked them,
course.
do they
Of course. I'm guilty of
do
doing
they
that as
want
well
that?
sometimes, you know. When you're passionate about something, it's easy to want to share what you've learned and your methods of thinking, etc.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're passionate about something, there is healthy passion, or I should say, there is supportive passion and there is destructive passion. There is supportive pride and there is destructive pride or non supportive pride. Everything that exists can exist to add value and to subtract. So it's understanding that when you're really passionate about something, it's it's not being so attached to that that it takes over you and you just become um, a verbal diarrhea machine of your beliefs and your opinions and your passions without understanding that as you're speaking, you could be completely destroying or attacking that you might not mean it. But if you think the world's blue, oh, it's so blue and everything's blue, if they absolutely freaking hate blue and they think the world's green, as you're speaking, you're literally destroying the fabric of what they believe in.
Yep.
So, and dependent on the person you're speaking to, they could just be waiting to respond, which is where a lot of people sit,
Yeah.
instead of listening.
Can you hear me? Can
Oh,
I
yeah. I
can I
didn't know if
ask?
the delay. I was leaving a bit of time then. Go on, ask another question.
Okay.
You're welcome.
So thank you for that. That helps a lot. So this next question is more tips. Maybe you can give some advice on uh, how you would react in this moment. So the question was, how can I work on stepping out of my own perspective in the moment? So to give you some context, I can find myself immediately judging a viewpoint or an ideal in my head before I've even had the chance to process and to listen. And I notice myself doing it a lot. So in that moment, once I've realized I disagree or my brain thinks that this is a stupid view or belief, what tips or techniques could you give to people who maybe want to work on being less judgmental in the present moment and stepping out of that bias viewpoint?
Mm, really good question. So, first of all, before we go into tips of how do you become less judgmental, in fact, it might answer all the questions. I don't know. We'll see. Um, I don't like using the words right or wrong. So just for this conversation, I'm going to use those words to just be really clear on A and B, one and zero, right and wrong. But just be really warned that they are very damaging words because as soon as I think I'm right, someone else has to be wrong. But let's say you meet someone who has a very different view from you. Then, and let's just assume for the moment that they're willing to have a really good conversation about it, and so are you, because there's different scenarios. The more people that you can speak to who have a very different view from you, and I actively encourage you to do so, otherwise you'll just be in an echo chamber. Um, the more YouTube videos you can watch, the more people you can follow, the more conversations you can have who absolutely think the opposite to you, the more they'll challenge your viewpoint in ways that gets you thinking. Sorry, they'll challenge your viewpoint and get you thinking in ways that people that are in your circle or echo chamber will not. Because when you say something, they'll pat you on this. The people in your chamber will pat you on the back and go, "Yeah, I agree with that. You're right. Yeah, you know loads about this." When you're speaking to someone of the opposite or who thinks very differently, they'll ask very different questions of you, and that's an opportunity for you to practice actually what it is that you know and have what you think you know challenged. So you'll either enhance what you know, and you'll speak to that person, and they might understand where you're coming from, and they might understand your view so much so that they take some of it on. You might agree to disagree, but the act of asking the question is a little bit like when we've talked about the gift of the annoying person. It's seeing the moment where they think something totally different and going, right, how can I grow from this? This person thinks totally differently to me. So if they're willing to have a conversation, one of us is bound to learn something because I'm either bound to learn something about them and they think totally differently. And that could absolutely transform my viewpoint because it begins with not being attached to your view. You have this view, but really, if you're looking at self-actualization and the constant evolution of yourself as a conscious agent on this planet, you should be doing everything you can to question this viewpoint. Because how do you know it's right? You think it's right based on your life so far. But 10 years ago, you thought very different things from you did today,
Yeah.
I would imagine. So, so first understand that those situations that you're in are designed so that you can, or you can view it that way, that you can learn from it. The judgment side will soften once you start to understand that everyone in the world is your teacher. Everybody. Your ex-partner who you hated or they hated you or whatever happened, your parents when they did XYZ, your friends when you lost that friendship, like they're all teachers. And the minute you can see everything as a teacher, you can't, well, it becomes much more difficult to judge something as bad or I don't like what they're saying, purely because everything they're saying can benefit you. Does that help?
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think you've
Cool,
definitely
cool,
helped
cool, cool.
me. And I did have one more, but I think, to be honest, you did answer it in there. So
Cool.
that's all from me. Thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate it.
Awesome, Dominic. Thank you very much, brother, for coming back on and asking some more questions. You take care, man, okay?
No problem. Do I just leave one here, or can you kick me out
I'll do it
so I
here
can?
for you. There you go. Never kicked out, Dominic. Slowly and gently removed. So that is perspective agility. And right now, with everything that we're going through, I really encourage everyone to just So just sit back a little bit from wherever they're sat in and just start to see the world from all these different angles, because who knows who's right and what is right? What is right, what is wrong? One person's right is another person's wrong, and vice versa. So I hope that's supportive and helps people with wherever they're on. So a quick check in. I apologize. I didn't actually say hello to everyone that was here. I know we had, I don't know if you're still with us. We had Anne and we had Sharon Gaskin with us as well, and Ishreen Bradley. We had Tay, and I have no idea where the rest of people are. But wherever you are, I hope you're good and you're having a really nice day. I do think that. So we're going to finish with a song and then a little bit of breath work. This is a song called Let Me See the Light. It's a nice, repetitive song by Mike Bolsner. It's really interesting taking your guitar outside into the sun and how quickly it goes out of tune. Now I'm going to switch over to a different microphone for this. I hope it's not too windy. As I said, I'm working outside at the minute, so we'll see what that does. 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. There we go. In fact, it'd be really useful if we get some feedback, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. Let's turn that up. Christina, are you listening to it? Can you hear it? If someone is oh, there we go. Yeah. Perfect. If someone, I'm happy with that. All right, so this is Let Me See the Light by Mike Bosner. Let me see the lights guiding me. Let me feel the love inside of me. Let me know the way to be one with all. Let me see the light that's guiding me. Let me feel the love inside of me. Let me know the way to be one with all. Let me see the light that's guiding me. Let me feel the love inside of me. Let me know the way to be one with all. Let me see the lights guiding me. Let me feel the love inside of me. Let me know the way to be one with all. Let me see the lights guiding me. Let me feel the love inside of me. Let me know the way to be one with all. I hope you'll agree. It's a beautiful little song. Bring you back into my ear. There we go. Cool. So, thank you everybody for joining me on the Conscious Catch-Up. We're going to finish with a moment's breath work. So do please stay for this if you've not had time to have a conscious breath today. And yes, that is different from just breathing. Please please do stay. It'll take a minute or two. I hope if I press the right buttons. I don't have a mixer outside, so it's amazing what you can do with most of the tech that we've already got. Perfect. So you should be able to hear that, and you get to see a pretty little butterfly in the background. Okay, everyone, so we're going to be finishing off the show now. So please find yourself somewhere comfortable. Nice and relax. And just roll the shoulders a couple of times. Maybe roll the left one, and the right one, and the left one. See if you can do them different directions if you want. Take your gaze inwards. Close your eyes. Take a breath in and out. Breathe in and out. On the out, just empty your lungs fully. Suck the stomach in. Suck it right in. And then we're going to breathe in for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And hold. And then lift the body up. Nice and straight. And breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. And just continue at your own pace. Become aware of the breath as it enters your nose and leaves. It's cooler when it comes in and it's warmer when it leaves. See if you can take your attention down your throat, down your neck. See if you can become aware of your heartbeat. Is it vibrating? Is it pulsing? Is it beating? It's there all day, and sometimes we never even think about it. And just holding it in your mind's eye right now is just enough sometimes. Just acknowledge and recognize the absolute power and powerhouse that your body is. And bringing your attention back up to the tip of your nose. I invite you to take your arms and wrap them around you and just give yourself a hug. Because even leaders need love too. You can stay like this if you wish. Just enjoying the peace that a few breaths can bring. My name is Daniel Lenko. Thank you for joining me on today's Conscious Catch-Up. Be aware and practice perspective agility wherever you can. And if you need a break from whatever it is that you're doing, just know there's plenty of things that you can be doing to support yourself or your loved ones. Have a really, really nice day. And I will see you all next week.